When I was younger, I used to hang out with a girl named Alyssa. She wasn't exactly a good influence on me, and we would often run around her neighborhood at night, seeing as all of the adults at her house worked night shifts. This particular day, we had brought along a girl named Caitlin, who, despite being a complete psychopath, we let tag along with us on our adventures. These adventures consisted of walking 2 miles to the Target at the nearby shopping center and taking ridiculous photos. What else are teenage girls supposed to do on a Friday night? All the while trying to avoid getting kicked out for messing with the merchandise. Nothing too major. I remember once we wound up all of the wind-up snow globes and created a symphony of creepy carnival music, and another time we had a chocolate syrup fight and managed to flee before we got caught. Once we ran out of ideas, though, we decided it was time to take photos on the giant red balls that decorated the entrance before heading home. A planking photo here and a silly pose there. It wasn't like we were vandalizing the property. Suddenly, this lady comes running from the parking lot as Alyssa finishes taking my photo. She looked not a day over 20, and was dressed really well considering the fact that she was just picking up a few things from Target. With her shopping bag and car keys in hand, she introduced herself to Alyssa and Caitlin as a member of a nearby church we had never heard of before. Since I was the most reasonable and well-mannered of the group, I made my way over to her and asked what exactly she wanted from us. I thought she would yell at us for taking silly pictures that were slightly provocative. Sitting on a giant red ball and sticking your tongue out wasn't exactly innocent when you're 14 years old. But instead, she merely smiled and said that she wanted to baptize us. What? I glanced at Alyssa, using my best friend telepathy to ask her if I had just heard this crazy bitch right. The look of disbelief on her face confirmed that, yes, this lady from God knows where had just come up and said she wanted to baptize us in front of Target. We turned our attention back to her as she nervously chuckled. Actually, I've already been baptized. Oh, really? That's fantastic. But I'm not talking about just any baptism. I mean baptizing you in the name of the Holy Spirit. No, I've already been confirmed too. I just got confirmed a couple of months ago, actually. Well, this is different. Come on, don't be nervous. It's God we're talking about. Well, at that point, I guessed politely refusing her wasn't going to fly. I thought that it might be a good idea to try a more direct approach. Look, we really have to get going. Oh, no. It won't take longer than 5 minutes. I promise. Keep in mind that it's about 10 p.m. in early November, so the odds of this happening should be 0, since we're nowhere near a church, and there's no way that she had just left some sort of Christian youth group that just so happened to encourage her to go out and give blessings to teens she deemed were heading down a path of destruction. We all looked at each other nervously, but unanimously decided that letting this crazy lady do whatever she wanted was better than starting a scene. Besides, we were surrounded by people, and one scream would more than suffice for a security guard to run over. Awkwardly, and trying our best not to burst out laughing from the nerves and the fact that we were actually going along with it, we held hands and stood in a circle. She began to recite a prayer and closed her eyes. We took this chance to look at each other and nodded in agreement that this wasn't as bad as we thought and it might be soon over. Then she started to yell her prayer and reached out towards my head. What are you doing? Oh, don't worry. I'm just going to let the Holy Spirit enter your body. Look. I don't think I'm very comfort... Before I could finish, she already had her hand firmly on the top of my head, and had begun reciting another prayer. Caitlin lost it at this point and burst out laughing, which caused a chain reaction that made Alyssa laugh, which made me burst into hysterics, and ultimately made our delusional acquaintance giggle. Oh, you're laughing! Don't worry, it must be God. I looked over at Alyssa with a tear in my eye and mouthed, "What the fuck?" "Don't worry, you're just drunk. Drunk off Jesus. It happens all the time. It's good. It's supposed to happen. Oh, this is just great. I never met anyone else who was so captivated by God." Since we were right in the parking lot, cars began slowing down as she repeated the steps on Alyssa and Caitlin. This realization made us laugh even harder. Once she was done, she told us to stop by our church sometime, and that we would definitely be welcome there. We nodded and said our goodbyes, and just like that, she was gone. To this day, I have no idea what drugs that lady was on, or if the crazy train had finally derailed within this dedicated member of the Christian faith.
I wouldn't usually shop at Target. Not because I didn't like the store, just out of convenience, because where I live there aren't that many local shopping stores, so if I have to go, I can only really go to local ones, smaller ones. Nothing big like Walmart or anything like that, just, well, really local. Anyways, it was winter, so I didn't really have the option to go to some of the smaller stores because I guess where they didn't have as good staffing and facilities, they were all shut. As a result, I had to go to a Target that was a bit out of town from where I lived. Again, I didn't mind because how badly it was snowing. It did make the roads really unsafe though, so I just driven really cautiously. So all I had to do was get a couple of essential things and just hunker down for the snow until it was over. So I departed and started driving my car to my local Target. Nothing too unusual on the drive there, just the odd person going past me. Nothing strange again. It was just weird it being like a ghost town and all, because obviously not that many people decided to come out. When I got to the Target, it was pretty deserted. It kind of felt strange, like something out of a zombie apocalypse. All of the shelves had been raided for other essentials like the things I needed. Great. And there were some other shoppers in there, but they were just a little odd. That's all I can say. There was one or two other frantic people around there, but some of them just stood out. It made the normal people stand out more than the weird ones, to be honest. I didn't have any problem with this, so I just went on with my shop. As I was shopping though, I kept noticing this strange man just staring at me. I thought he was just looking down the same aisle that I was in, maybe for food or something. I don't know. So I just went on, but his eyes, I could just feel them hitting me every time I looked up. You know that weird feeling when you know someone's looking at you? What made it worse was, at one point, I just looked up at him as if to say, "What are you looking at?" And he didn't break eye contact with me. That was really strange, almost intimidating. When I looked at this man though, I could see that he wasn't a normal sane person. He had a kind of crazed, deranged look in his eye. When I looked at him though, after a few seconds he scurried off as if he was scared suddenly. It was really strange. I've never seen anything like it before. I really didn't like all the other people in there and I just wanted to get out of there and home. When I got to the parking lot again, I was the only car there. Again, great. I decided that even though that I was worried, I should still have a look round just in case he's still there. I didn't see any sign of him, thank God, so I got in my car and started up on my way home. As I was driving, I noticed there was something just off about the way my car was riding. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, it was just strange. As I was going along, I saw somebody else up ahead of the road. Being a little worried about driving in the snow, I started to slow down thinking, great, someone can help me hopefully. As I got closer, I soon realised that there was a car lying in the ditch and I could just see its tailgate sticking out. What's more strange, there was a man laying face down next to it. I was hesitant to stop because it just looked strange. It didn't feel right, what with the experience I had earlier. I just wanted to floor it the hell out of there. As I got closer though, I soon realised that something was up. As I slowly come to a halt, I decided it'd be a good idea just to coaster it along. That was when it hit me. The car didn't have a single scratch on it. It didn't have anything on it to indicate that it had been hit. What's more, there was no blood, nothing, just a person laying there. I finally come to a stop. I rolled the window down but kept it in gear. "Hey, bud, are you alright?" And as that happened, nothing. I knew that I could probably trick them if they were trying to pull one over on me. I started to worry that someone actually was hurt. I opened my right door a little, just to give the indication I was hopping out. The second I did that, he instantly stood up and bolted towards me. It was the same man from in Target. I bolted out of there, stepping on the gas as hard as I possibly could. I was terrified. I've never been so scared in my life. As soon as I pulled up on my drive, I just prayed that when I looked behind me, I wouldn't see him running or driving in his car after me. That was when I looked down. One of my tyres had been slashed. That was the reason I couldn't drive properly. I went inside and locked all the doors and called the police. When the police arrived, I explained everything that had happened and they went on a big search. And they found nothing. But that was more due to the snow, causing the tracks to be covered once again. I never saw or heard of that man again. I have no idea what he was plotting or why he targeted me. I just know that, from the deranged look in his eye, it was nothing good.
I had a rather odd experience last year in a Target with my friend. She and I were just shopping in the clothing section when a decent-sized group of people came in, apparently arguing because they were yelling at each other, it seemed. The area this Target is in is kind of crappy, so my friend and I just rolled our eyes at each other and made some snarky, "always classy here" type of comment. As we continued shopping, it suddenly occurred to us that it had been a couple of minutes and the yelling was still happening. Furthermore, it was just one woman's voice going. Pretty far away, but still audible at this point because she was yelling so loudly. We couldn't figure it out from our distance if she was speaking English or another language. We thought this was all odd, but kind of tried to ignore it. Well, as we were about to go into the shoe section, we saw that the person yelling was in there, and was alone. She wasn't with the group at all, and had just happened to walk in at the same time as the group of people had. She was just standing there, all alone, screaming something out very loudly. As we got closer, we started realizing that she was switching back and forth between English and some other language. She was dressed how I've seen Haitian women dress in documentaries, and her accent in speaking English definitely sounded Haitian, so that seemed to fit. As we got slightly closer, we were finally able to make out more of what she was yelling. She was yelling something along the lines of, "I said it's time to kill more babies," then switching to a different language and saying the same thing. She just kept going on like that, just walking slowly and alone, yelling super loud and going back and forth between English and what I thought was Creole. My friend and I were really creeped out, so we decided to run for another part of the store. We were looking at stationery when we heard the lady's voice slowly getting closer again. It sounded like she was coming up toward the row across from us, but I think we figured she'd just keep moving past. Well, that didn't happen. We heard her voice get to the row across from us, separated by the main aisle, and as I looked at stationery, I saw her turn and walk into the row from the corner of my eye. I realized in the same moment that my friend had just deserted me and gone around to the next row. This woman had not stopped yelling her craziness, and so, as I saw in the corner of my eye that she had stopped and was standing there yelling, I finally turned slowly on my heels to face her. She stood there, looked me right in the eyes as I faced her, and yelled, maintaining eye contact, "I said it's time to sacrifice more babies!" At which point I slowly turned on my heel again, walked around the corner, and grabbed my friend. We noped the hell out of there shortly after. I still cannot believe no security guards came and got her in the time we were there, which was probably a good 15 or more minutes, and that Target has several guards. I have no idea how I was so calm at the time, because later in the day I was totally freaked out by it. Just a weird situation.
The following is more weird than terrifying, but definitely the most strange and scary experience I've ever had in my life. My story starts not on the day of the actual event, but the night before. I had a dream that I had been thinking that was recurring for a while, but I wasn't sure. And it goes that no matter what, I heard a voice telling me that I had to get a lighter. I don't know why that was the case, but as soon as I'd purchased a lighter though, I would suddenly flash back into a normal conscious state, drenched in sweat and utterly terrified. This happened a few times if I'm correct, and I just know it was really unsettling. I had no idea why this kept happening to me. I just know that it shook me up. Was it just my subconscious mind reminding me that I needed lighters? I did smoke, but I really wasn't sure. I just thought this was really odd. Anyway, the next day I woke up like normal. This was on a Saturday, so I had some time off. And doing what I normally would, after waking up I reached for my cigarette to go and smoke on my balcony. But, what'd you know, I didn't have my lighter. I couldn't find it anywhere. It was so strange, it was almost as if somebody had robbed me from right there. I knew I had it because I used it the night before. This doesn't make any sense. Then it hit me, the lighter dream. Surely that was just a coincidence, right? I didn't think anything else of it, and decided that, well, I better just go to my local Target just to go and get one and hopefully take my mind off this weird dream I was having. As I set off and started driving, I had this really weird feeling looking back at my old house. I really liked the place, but to be honest, I needed to cut the grass around it. There was lots of dead grass surrounding it and from the fields around, and it started to look really untidy. As I was driving, I only felt more uneasy. It was like I kept getting deja vu and flashbacks to the dream I was having. I could remember this in the dream. It was just like what I thought had happened. This surely is just all in my mind, right? I managed to battle through it, continue on my journey to get my lighter and some other things. Can't lie, I just felt really weird. I turned on the radio and I got nothing at first. Just so I went to change the channel though, what I heard made my heart drop. All I heard were the sounds of a flint hitting a lighter, then it igniting, then nothing. I've got to be losing my mind, this makes no sense. I drove quickly to get to Target. Looking panicked, so I rushed over and said, "Excuse me, do you know where the lighters are?" to one of the workers. I knew where they were, it's just I was in such a state of panic I couldn't think straight. Thankfully she led me to them and I just quickly got into the queue and started to calm down. They were having some real trouble at the till though. It seemed to be taking for ages for people to get served, and what was worse is that even though it was a massive wait, all I had in the back of my mind was how weird that dream was and how uncomfortable I felt. It was a terrible feeling, to be honest. I just wanted to get out of there. After what felt like ages, I finally got to give them the lighter and hand over my money. Again, just like deja vu, I felt like I was suddenly snapping back into the dream, and I was right back at the part where I normally wake up. I was anticipating something to happen. Looking round, "You alright?" the guy at the till said. "Yeah, I'm fine." Thankfully nothing happened, and I just went off on my way home. As I was doing so, I suddenly felt a lot more relaxed and happy. I turned on the radio, and what come on was a local news station. I turned it up because they were talking about my area, and they were reporting on an incident that had happened. They were reporting that there was a massive wildfire taking place a few hours ago, spreading far and destroying lots of homes in the process. Oh no, that I can't be right, can I? I turned it off, hoping that it wasn't me in that area. Surely I'm just losing my mind, I thought to myself. I sped back home then, and just as I turned the corner, I couldn't believe what I'd seen. Firemen struggling desperately to put out my house. I ran over and went to go and speak to one of the firemen. They dragged me back. There's no way you're going back in there. This whole place is about to go. I stepped back and saw part of the structure collapse. I was just speechless. It hit me. Maybe that dream I was having, the thoughts I was having, maybe it wasn't just all a coincidence. Maybe I wasn't losing my mind. To this day, I don't know what it was, but I'm just forever thankful that something had my back.